Folks, I'm proud to introduce Len Raphael. Did I get it right?
Len Raphael, no S.
No S, Raphael. And hey, right shirt, almost got 90% ding. At any rate, my friend is running for Oakland City Auditor. And Len, tell my viewers, first of all, how long you've been in Oakland?
Gosh, I've been in Oakland since 1970. Well, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I came out I was moving out to San Francisco, but my car didn't have a good parking brake, so I stayed in Oakland.
Now,
so with few breaks, I've been here pretty much since 1970. Lived in all different parts of Oakland, by the way.
Well, I'm gonna come back to that. What's your motivating factor for running? What's the aha moment?
What the aha moment was?
Yeah, what got you so mad that you said I'm running for city auditor?
Yeah, what? Right. Actually, the aha moment was several people on Facebook who back in, I believe it was probably February of this year, maybe it was March, replied to a posting I had made there, and they said, Len, they guilt tripped me into running. They said, Len, it's time for you to put your body where your keyboard hands and your mouth are. If you're gonna be the watchdog from afar who talks at city council meetings, who writes op-eds, who's very critical of various city financial and sometimes public safety stuff, it's easy to criticize when you're not having to deal with the realities of government all the time. It's time for you to actually get your hands dirty and try to do something from within city government. And the perfect position for you would be city auditor, because when you ran for city council, the Oakland Tribune said correctly, Len's been the watchdog for the city for many years and has the best grasp of the complexities. The Tribune then went on to say his attitude is not ideal for getting 7 other city council members to agree to do something. They said it a little more succinctly than that, and that was kind of what the people on Facebook were saying too. It's look, for city auditor, you're not supposed to be Mr. Nice Guy to either politicians or to the people you're auditing. You're supposed to be fair. You're supposed to be impartial. You're supposed to be independent. And as they said, you're very independent. You're very forthright. If you believe something, you don't back down unless the people give you a good argument with facts why you should back down. But you do back down, and that's why you'd be perfect for city auditor. And we need someone like that who continues and amplifies and does more of what the current auditor was doing, but does it more does it without tiptoeing around sensitive political areas that have to be investigated and looked at. And they said, Len, you should do it. And I said, wow. I said, that involves running against the incumbent in a citywide election. And I said, there's no way in heck that I'm going to raise $200,000 to do it. It's like, life's too short. Why should I knock my head against it? And so that was the origin of this. So essentially, I thought about it. I said, yes, I should do that, but it's political suicide in Oakland to try to run against an incumbent. And then it came up really just in early August that the incumbent decided, irrevocably decided by not filing to withdraw from the mayor's race.
Yeah, she tried to keep it quiet. She couldn't.
It was there. I mean, I tried going around feeling out whether people who would give me endorsements in July, and people were saying, "Whoa, it's like if the incumbent pulls out of the mayor's race and you have to run against them, it would be crazy for us to endorse you, and then we're hanging out there. No one wants to piss off any city auditor if they can avoid it. And so they said, no, we're going to wait to see whether the incumbent runs again or not. And when the incumbent didn't run, I said, okay, that's me, and I'll run,
And so, tell my viewers, particularly those who may not know, what does the city auditor do?
There's an interesting difference between what the city charter says the city auditor does and what city auditors have done. Okay, the city charter gives an extremely broad job description. Okay, and it's a very broad, pretty much license to the city auditor to look at all aspects of the city government, primarily fiscal aspects of the city government. Okay, and arguably it gives it more room than that, but clearly it gives it wide latitude on fiscal. Much of the city charters, and you can go to my website. I put a copy of the city charter section that covers that, and it's an eye opener because I've talked to people who said, "Oh, the city auditor isn't supposed to do that. That's not part of their job." I'm saying, no, it's in there, okay? And they say, "Huh, you're right. How come city auditors haven't done that?" Anyway, so typically the way city auditors apply the job description is they pick what they want to do and they ignore the stuff they don't want to do, whether it's for budgetary reasons or whether it's for their political survival. Okay, and so what you see them doing is the traditional internal audit function, which for sure should be the primary function of the city auditor. But again, you have you have a staff, you have a budget of $1 million, and really internal audit is, even though it is, internal audit means checking contracts, making sure the money that's being spent by various vendors is in compliance with the terms of the contract. It means auditing departments to make sure automobile expense reimbursements are backed up by pieces of paper, make sure that supplies are authorized, all that kind of thing. Make sure they're what are called internal controls, in other words, someone's checking that some expenditure or purchase, whatever, is authorized, that type of stuff, that systems are in place that protect the assets and the proprietary, the correct recording of accounting entries. Those are all very traditional internal audit functions. Okay, then that certainly is a significant chunk of what the office does. Not necessarily the auditor, because their staff, there's about seven staff there, right? And so typically that's what the staff does, and then they spend most of the time doing that. Then there's a concept of performance audits. Performance audits are not really defined very well by the city charter, and that can be interpreted from just how well do people fill out their paperwork, or to how efficiently does a city department or a contractor perform the task that they're supposed to perform, considering how much money they're getting paid, what's the quality and quantity of what they produce, whether it's services or a building or what have you. Those are so-called performance audits. The other ones are called just standard internal audits. Okay, so there's a performance audit where it's just how well do they perform in filling out paperwork. Then there's a performance audit, which I have to say is more what I call a performance audit, which is how effectively and efficiently a department or a contractor perform. Okay, so that's typically a mix of those things is typically what the last two auditors have done, with, I would say, a heavy emphasis on just on the first category, which was auditing the appropriate recording of the transactions, the authorization of the expenditures, everyone's paperwork's in order and consistent and compliant with contracts. Now, then there have been some performance audits, okay, of which, if I were going to get into it, I'd say some of them were decent, some of them were a waste of time, and certainly not what I would think would be the important part is how well did the outside contractor perform or the department. Okay, and then another function of the city auditor is just to give the opinion in the voter pamphlet about the economic effects on the city of something. That's pretty routine. They don't go into econometric models or anything like that. So as I said, coming from an economic background that you come from, it's not a very sophisticated kind of analysis.
Tell my viewers also, what's your background? I know off camera you were saying that you have been an accountant for 40 years. Did I have that right?
No, my background.
You've been in Oakland for 40 years.
Pardon me? Oh, no. Well, let's see here. No, let's see, how long I've been a CPA for 30 years. Okay.
30 years, yeah.
And, yeah, pretty much 30 years. Yeah, I did my basic work.
And you were in Oakland for 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, I worked for some of that time. I did my basic audit training, for example, with Price Waterhouse and Deloitte in San Francisco. But after leaving there, I pretty much worked in the East Bay, and most of the time was either Oakland or Emeryville. And I had my office in Emeryville for a bunch of years. I moved it back to Oakland at the beginning of this year. Yeah, I started in Oakland, moved back to Oakland for my business. Yeah.
And looking at your endorsement list is pretty, I think it's pretty impressive. Tell my viewers who's endorsed you. You got
my endorsement list?
Yeah, I was impressed.
It's a fascinatingly diverse group of Oaklanders. I have
But you got Larry Reed.
What's that? Yes, no. And there are people who don't really necessarily agree with each other on the same issues, but they said, for example, they agree that I'd be a good person to have as an auditor. That's what they agree on. They don't agree necessarily. So in other words, I have Larry Reed, and he's heard me speak before City Council and committees multiple times. Yeah. I have Noel Gallo,
District 5 council member.
Pardon me?
District 5 council member.
District 5 council member, right. He's also heard me speak, and I've disagreed with both of them, and I've been critical of both of them. So it's not,
that's pretty good.
It was gratifying that they respected my opinion and my competence, even though, I don't agree with them on everything, Then I have people like Don McClay, Green Party. I have him.
Larry's a friend too.
Pardon me?
They're all friends, but go ahead. I kept saying.
Oh yeah, then I have Josephine Lee, who is a long-time North Oakland activist in the African American community. I have Larry Benson, who's an NCPC activist. I have Teresa Anderson, who's on the board of Fairyland, and she's with
the Green Party.
Pardon me?
The Green Party, Teresa Anderson. Is she on the Green Party, or is that?
No, I don't think she was related to anything. She was never really political.
That's another one. Okay.
But she was always very involved in Oakland civic affairs. I believe she was on the Citizen Budget Advisory Committee back in the late 90s. Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of a sampling of the people I have. It's a very diverse group. I have Hugh Morrison, who's very active in Glenview Parents, and he's on the board of, I believe, the Glenview Association. Quite a few people from all over.
Right?
What's that?
Sean Sullivan.
Pardon me?
Sean Sullivan, I think, is backing you.
That's right. It's a long list. Yes. Pardon me?
Max Alstead is backing you.
I have Max Alstead, who's very active in Dogtown and DTO. I have Sean Sullivan backing me also. Quite a list of people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
As auditor, what's your platform? What is it that you want to do for Oakland?
When you were asking me what the auditor does, well, going back to when, but back in several months ago when people first guilt tripped me into thinking about running for auditor. One of the factors in this was I read some op-ed in the San Francisco Chronicle where a guy was saying what Oakland needs is an independent budget analyst, the way San Francisco has one, Harvey Rose, right? Okay. And my response was, we already supposedly have and are paying for one. That's what I thought one of the jobs of the city auditor is to do. Oh, that's what I thought. Okay. Everyone else I spoke to said, no. The city auditor is just supposed to be an internal auditor, maybe do performance audits, occasionally come out with a report. I said, no. I'm real sure they're supposed to be an independent budget analyst. In other words, go up to the city council when the city council has significant financial decisions and give them an impartial analysis of the costs and benefits of what they're going to do. Because every decision has costs and benefits, and you're supposed to keep your own point of view out of it, but you have to be aware of your own point of view, and you have to tell them what the costs and benefits are, and so they can decide, and so also the voters can decide. Well, make a long story short, I dug up the city charter section, and sure enough, it's in there. It doesn't use the word independent budget analyst, but it says it's right in there, and it says one of your responsibilities is to let's see, where is it here? Well, if you look on my website, again, it's there. Okay, cool. Look on the website, and you will see the actual the entire section in the charter where it describes it. And sure enough, you are supposed to go before the city council when it makes major expenditure decisions, and you are supposed to give your unbiased opinion about the effect of those decisions. And that is actually what my strong point is. I don't claim to be God's gift to internal auditing. Okay, I did my audit training at Pricewaterhouse at Deloitte. I know how to do audits. I even know how to do performance audits. I'm not, but basically, I know how to hire good auditors. And in fact, the current auditor has built up an excellent auditing staff who are perfectly capable of doing the job as long as the person at the top points them in the right direction. Because
that's a loaded statement.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it isn't. You can't have. There's no such thing as an internal auditing robot. Wind them up and they will go audit. You have to point them You have to point them at the right areas to audit, and that's a judgment area which comes from. You have to have knowledge of Oakland's issues and the people involved, and you have to have the trust of people who are both residents who are watching over things as well as city employees who will come to you and they'll tell you, look, this is the area you have to audit. Right. This is something funny going on here, and you can't. Sure, you can do some of that just by looking at the numbers and say, the ratios are out of whack. But no. The key point here is knowing what areas to audit, sending your staff to audit them. You have a second in command who runs the audits, and that's the key point. It's not whether you've done internal audits your whole professional career. I haven't, really. I mean, other than my basic training, most of my professional experience is actually taxation and financial analysis, that type of stuff. Okay, but my avocation has been looking over Oakland fiscal issues and digging into budget issues and stuff like that, and talking to people about Oakland issues and finding out where, I wouldn't exactly say where the skeletons are, but sort of, where the problems lay and which areas should, if we're going to do performance audits, this is where we should do them. If you're doing internal audits for looking for out of compliance, looking for fraud and waste, you really want to target that based on what whistleblowers have told you. You don't want to just, okay?
Now, as we move to a close, I have to ask you this. I have been in Oakland since April 8th of 74. I think we came in around the same time. I have known every auditor from Norma Lau
Wow.
to,
Okay.
multiple terms. Okay.
Wow.
Norma Lau to Roland Smith to Courtney Ruby.
Yeah.
I have asked each auditor to audit the Oakland Coliseum, and here's why I say that. I particularly need that because the Coliseum is part owned by the city of Oakland.
This is the joint what is it called, JPA?
It's the JPA, but even before the JPA, that was still the case. It was always the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum complex.
Okay.
People think that the Coliseum started with the JPA. The JPA started as really a two-person organization that was a seat for the bond that refurbished the stadium to bring back the Raiders. But the reality is the Coliseum goes all the way back to 1966. All right, that aside.
Okay. Sure.
But Ignacio really did a good job of forming the JPA or reforming it so that the city of Oakland had, quote, more say and control over the money. But we have never asked what we get back from the Coliseum, not so much what we get back, but how the Coliseum is ran. And here's why I say that. When we had SMG as a management organization,
Right.
they had a contract that, because the way it was worded, allowed them to defer maintenance.
Right.
Okay, and so we have, this goes back to when I was the mayor's aide. We have a punch list of items that were supposed to have been done at the Coliseum.
Okay.
I'll bet $1,000 that 50% of those, 60% of them, I'll bet $1,000 50% of them haven't been done to this day. That punch list goes all the way back to 1997. Okay? My point is, punch list things like, for example, making sure that the baseboards and the carpeting are replaced to the luxury suites. Making sure, little things like that to things.
Does it cover the plumbing also?
That's it undoubtedly. If it doesn't cover it directly, it covers it indirectly. But the bottom line is, it goes under the problem of deferred maintenance. Right. So you see where I'm headed here.
No, I do.
No one has. Will you be the first auditor to audit the Oakland Coliseum? Is that too much?
I have to be completely honest.
Yeah, sure.
That in the course of talking to people about city auditors, I can't tell you how many people have said, "Why the heck don't have an auditor's audited?" And they give me different areas. Things like OPD overtime, things like OPD liability, long-term disability claims, things like why nonviolent true performance audits, not just how well they fill out the paperwork, and I've heard the policy.
This is something that is doable.
And the answer is the auditors we've had have been very, very careful to avoid areas that might step on powerful toes.
But you're right. But here's the
that's
thing.
the reason.
But that's the point. My point is because Courtney said she didn't have the resources, but she had no problem using, and I'm just saying this on camera because I've said it before, she had no problem using her office to personally attack Phil Tagami, okay, or Larry Reed, or Destiny Brooks. Are we going to do anything constructive?
A complete waste of audit resources, as far as I'm concerned.
Why not?
And I'm not getting any money from Phil Tagami.
No.
I met the guy once,
I'm saying that.
And the auditor of Tagami is, at least I think that wasn't that one like $400,000. Took 4 or 5 years to complete.
That, yeah. But and then she looked into his personal life, and Phil personally told me.
I don't know about that.
My point is, I'm begging you to be the first.
No, I hear you, and look,
because we need to right this ship. We need to right this ship.
Hey, look, what I would say is cut out the audits of things like I don't know. Look, reduce the time spent on trivia and look at the ones where there are big dollars involved. And I certainly wouldn't be going on witch hunts of individual people when there isn't even any fiscal impropriety, any whiff of it in these things. And that's my point of view, is you would choose your targets so that they hit the big dollars. You hit the items that haven't been looked at in years. Hey, the Coliseum, Oakland, the garbage contracts. No one looked at waste management for a million years.
The Coliseum.
Hey, it's a big one. I know we're spending. Well, how much are we spending on that? It costs us $10 million a year just because.
Costs us 20.
Oh, it costs the county 10 and us 10, right?
It costs. Yeah, that's right. It costs the county 10 and us 10, but that doesn't include. But see, the county doesn't play the police expenditures. We do.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Right.
Sure. I do.
I don't understand what the fear is regarding the Coliseum. The sports organizations would love you for it. The owners. What's the fear? I just don't get that. The residents of Oakland want to know how the facility they own is ran. Why is that a problem?
Why is that a problem? I'm sure there's a political reason behind it.
I'm sure there isn't.
No,
there isn't. John Russo said, and I'll say this, just because something isn't done doesn't mean there's a good reason for it not being done. John Russo said...
You're saying don't assume... Okay.
Never. John Russo said this to me. He said, but this is when... He said this in 1998. He said the Coliseum is the third rail of politics. That was then, okay? Because no one will... But see, here's the point. It scared people, that ideology, scared people into an honest look at how the Coliseum is ran and how the money is spent.
Right.
All right? And it's horrible that this goes on to this day. It is the classic example of the kind of mismanagement we talk about, but we do nothing about. So
this is what I'll promise you. What I'll promise you is the process of how we choose what we audit will be open and transparent.
The Coliseum. I just want the Coliseum.
What's that? I hear you. I just
want the Coliseum.
It'll be it's on my list, and I think you need an open process where all the residents and the people involved see what the heck you're auditing and ask you why. I'm going to use my judgment, and I'm going to say, hey, look, you're not giving me a good reason not to audit it, to do it, and I'll audit it and let the chips fall where they may. So yes, so it sounds like a big juicy one that we should be looking at.
Norma Lau hasn't done it, okay, and Rona Smith didn't do it. I mean, when I say didn't do it, it's not like they looked at it. They didn't even look at it.
Yeah.
And
look at this. The current auditor never even looked at the taxi, at the towing towing company. They're supposed to do that.
But Courtney told me on video she didn't have the resources, and she said to me on video that she did not have, that it was her judgment regarding what to audit. No one told her. Okay, and so that opened the door for the audit that was done, where basically 2 black council members were picked out.
Yeah,
and it's probably why she's not running for re-election now. But the bottom line is,
it looked to me. Hey, look, I'm not running against Courtney Rubin. Okay, so I'm going to take the fifth on that one.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, so tell my viewers in closing, why should they vote for Len as city auditor? I think he's a good one.
Why should they vote for Len? The reason I should vote for Len is that he has years of experience that you can find online if you want to, of passionately and forthrightly talking about examining, scrutinizing Oakland fiscal and policy issues, and he brings that experience. He would bring that experience to the role of city auditor, and so he'd be able to focus the auditing staff on the right areas to audit, and he would also breathe some life into that neglected function of the city auditor to act as the independent budget analyst. And yes, I'm opinionated, but I'm also forthright, and I'm very independent. But when I'll report to the city council on those things, I'll be clear, what my preferences are, but I'll be very clear. These are the costs and benefits, and reasonable people might disagree. But the important thing is that we lay them all out so all of us can decide and face our problems together and not bury our heads in the sand about some of the big fiscal issues that are looming in the years to come. Even though right now things are looking great because of the current real estate bubble, and that's what I bring to this.
And with that, I will. My last question: how can people contact you if they want to support you?
Sure. If you go to www.lens, Lens for change, FORCHANGE.com, Lens for Change, kind of a cutesy name, but it works. LensForChange.com, and you'll be able to see where I stand on some issues. I'm building that out with detail, but it has a lot of links to op-eds I've written and comments I've made, so you'll be able to see the good, bad, and ugly about Len Raphael. The other candidate doesn't even have a website, and I don't think has ever published an op-ed on something in their life. But yeah, you'll be able to see what you're getting with Len Raphael. And I hope you like it, and I hope you see that I'm forthright and I'm very knowledgeable about the complexities of Oakland city government fiscal situations.
And thank you for a substantive conversation.
Good. I enjoyed it. Have a good